All right, guys. Happy Thursday. We're going to give everybody a few minutes here to get logged in. Welcome, everybody, to the AI Insights Deeper Dives. Looking forward to sharing with you guys. Just hang tight as we let a few more people join, and we'll get started here momentarily. All right, for anyone just joining in with us here, we are going to give everyone a couple minutes to get logged in and get settled in. Thanks for joining us today on a Thursday for our deeper dive discussions here surrounding AI Insights. We'll get everybody in here in just a couple minutes. We'll go ahead and get started. All right, guys, thanks for joining us today. We will be starting here momentarily. Just giving everyone a few minutes to get logged in and logged on. We'll be getting started here in just a second. All right, Hunter, what do you think? Should we
Oh,
get rocking and rolling?
I think we're ready. I mean, I'm excited.
I'm ready. So, well, welcome everybody to our deeper dives session regarding AI insights. Um, Thanks for everybody taking a little bit of time out of their day to learn a little bit more about AI insights and how it's impacting Fishbowl users like yourselves. Um, First off, just a couple of housekeeping items for us here. After the webinar today, we will be sending out that recording so you guys can rewatch at your own convenience. So don't worry about having to hurriedly scribble down notes. We will be sending that out afterwards. Also, we really wanted this webinar to be, for you guys to ask questions and get those answers today. So throughout the webinar today, make sure you guys are throwing those questions in the Q&A. We'll be answering those as we go throughout the webinar today. We also do have designated Q&A slots after each section of the webinar today to help you guys go along. Also, if you do need closed captions, there is the live transcript button in your Zoom control panel, as well as we will be sending out a post-webinar survey that'll pop up at the end here, so you guys can provide feedback on the session today. Um, So, couple things. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ben Schaefer. I am the team lead at ConverSight and help really spend time with our Fishbowl partnership. And I'm actually joined by Hunter. Hunter, if you want to share a little bit of background on yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. No, so again, my name is Hunter. I'm the account manager team lead, one of two here at Fishbowl Inventory. Work very closely with Ben and with ConverSight. And we're really excited to talk about AI insights because, personally, at least over the last several months at this point, I've had a great opportunity to both dive into the offerings of what this can do for your business and at the same time talk with a lot of our clients that have seen some tremendous results from it. So I'm excited here today because I think that you'll have an opportunity to really see what kind of a powerful tool this can be to augment your experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Hunter. Well, and so just to give an idea of the layout of the agenda for today, for those of you guys that haven't heard about AI Insights, we'll start with a quick overview there. We'll then get into the different tiers and inclusions that we have with our different packages with Fishbowl AI Insights. And where we really wanted to deep dive into is our demand forecasting overview, which comes with our tier 1 package, and then our inventory optimization as part of that tier 2. I know as we've been chatting with clients, those are typically where a lot of the questions are coming up. So we definitely want to make sure that we're spending some time there. And then at the end, we'll also include some general Q&A as well. So to get started, what is Fishbowl AI Insights? So over the years, ConverSight and Fishbowl have had a great partnership, and through that partnership, we have come out with a Fishbowl AI Insights. And really, Fishbowl AI Insights, I think, comes with 4 major pillars that help organizations that utilize Fishbowl make more of their data. So one is that we can create our own reports and dashboards directly within the tool. We don't have to go sending things to Excel, manipulating there, or going through a custom report process with Fishbowl. We wanted to empower that business user to self-serve on their own. We also wanted to provide some proactive insights into what's going on within the organization. So we do track trends across the organization. We also wanted to get those instant insights by asking questions, utilizing Athena, which is that AI assistant. And lastly, we really wanted to help in the forecasting and recommending actions within the organization. Just in my experience of working with Fishbowl clients, everybody want an easier reporting tool that they can use within Fishbowl. And then probably 95% or more are really looking for help in those forecasting and inventory optimization areas as well. So with that feedback from the team, that's where Fishbowl and ConverSight really came together to come up with a great tool that is providing a lot of value for nearly 500 Fishbowl clients right now. So just a quick overview of those different plans. So we do have 3 different tiers of offering within Fishbowl AI Insights. So one starting with our tier 0, which is more of our reporting package. Then when we move on to our tier 1, that's when we start introducing the forecasting that we can provide through AI Insights. And then finally, when we go to the tier 2, is where we are in that inventory optimization type space. So really, wherever you're at as an organization, we have a different level to get you guys started that's going to fit with where you're at in your business growth.
Yeah.
So to kick off some of the questions for today, poll question number 1. We're interested in what strategies are you currently using to forecast demand within your organization? Are we utilizing Excel sheets, maybe using just a safety stock reorder point, min-max kind of replenishment strategy? Are you using just a rolling average? Or for some of us, maybe we don't know what forecasting is. That's okay too. We'll share a little bit there. So make sure that you get your votes in here, and then we will be showing some results on these as well, just to see kind of where you're at with others.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice because when you think about it this way, when you start to look at the strategies that are out there when it comes to forecasting, sometimes you really develop something as an organization that is just convenient or in the moment, expedient. We oftentimes pursue what we know and what we're comfortable with. And sometimes we just don't really have a sound idea of the different resources at our disposal. And that's part of why what we're going to be going over here today is so powerful because it gives you an opportunity just to become a little more aware of some of the tools that you stand to benefit from.
Yeah, and Hunter, looking at I'm actually pretty I made a pretty solid guess.
Yeah,
It's showing that 52% of people that responded to the poll today are currently using Excel sheets, and I think Hunter, from your perspective, that's something that you hear pretty regularly as well.
I
I
would
know
agree.
something that I hear on my side pretty pretty often as well. So cool. Well, let's keep rolling here. So when we think about forecasting, um, we provide some AI-driven forecasting with Fishbowl AI Insights, and a couple things that I always like to bring up when we talk about forecasting is when we look at forecasting strategies, and as the poll shows, a lot of people are using Excel sheets to try and get this done. One of the things that can happen when we're looking utilizing an Excel forecast, I think one typically they're pretty labor intensive. For us to build those out. And with that labor intensity, that tends to mean that we're not going through that process as often as we would probably should, which can lead to some missed revenues if all of a sudden we have products that are taking off, excess inventory because products are slowing down. And we actually did a poll back in February where these inaccuracies, we wanted to talk about those inaccuracies. And out of the 145 people that responded to the poll question, 97% of those Fishbowl users that we polled during that webinar said they were having issues with stockouts or excess inventory. And this is all a direct result of forecasting maybe not being as accurate as it could be, which gives us an awesome opportunity to utilize the forecasting that we can offer with AI Insights. So to get a little bit more into how we're doing the forecasting with AI Insights, I think we take an interesting strategy to forecasting. So when we're talking about forecasting with AI Insights, we actually use a hybrid approach, which is a combination of a few different models. When we think of different models, each of those models are going to be good for a slightly different situation, where one is going to be more, we're trying to get the trend line as smooth as absolutely possible, which is great for products that tend to sell pretty regularly. Now, we also utilize another model called Profit, which is I'm sure I've run into a lot of Fishbowl users that have a lot of seasonal trends throughout the year. That Profit model is going to help pick up on those year over year seasonal trends. And then we also use an average model, so kind of a more balanced approach between making sure that we're accounting for seasonality, but then also helping to smooth things out. Using all of these models creates a way for us to specifically use the best fit for each and every one of our products, instead of giving a blanket percentage forecast across the business. So it gives us a much more accurate forecast that we can really count on when we're making our inventory replenishment decisions.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's kind of interesting to me because when we look at the kinds of experiences that our clients have, forecasting is always something that seems to be, as you outlined there, Ben, both time intensive, but also very involved and complicated. It's difficult, for example, to get ahead of your expected growth. And especially right now, where we see some market uncertainty and impacts to supply chains, knowing how you can manage that to be both lean and efficient, but at the same time staying ahead of any kind of potential disruption or stockouts is a very precarious road to walk. I was talking with one of my clients the other day, about a week ago, that is a food and beverage manufacturer. And they chose to utilize AI Insights. They signed up with us here a few months ago. And you said one of the biggest things that they had noticed was that for them, they said, it used to be that when we took a look at forecasting, they actually worked primarily out of spreadsheets. And as Ben highlighted, they really went through that process with a blanket percentage increase before. Theirs was kind of built on almost this gut check feeling. And I'm sure many of you have gone through similar kinds of senses where you say, well, based on where we are this quarter and our seasonality trends, we think that we're going to see an increase of about 8%. And so we're going to apply that as a blanket across the board. They said, actually, what we found, though, is that only about 35% of our goods fell within some kind of seasonality impact. And it wasn't until getting into AI Insights that we realized that those kinds of impacts allowed us to make more efficient decisions on our procurement process. They said what used to take us quite literally oftentimes 2 to 3 days of joint efforts between several stakeholders to produce what would be our monthly and quarterly forecasts is now something that we can run quite literally daily. And because we can run it
Right.
daily, we can now see consistent results. Because of that, they've said that they've been able to virtually eliminate their stockouts that they had previously struggled with quite significantly.
Yeah, and I think that stockout problem in, even talking to other Fishbowl users, it's not just the stockouts, but if we're making replenishment decisions off of a blanket type percentage, you end up with, if you're trying to find something in the middle of going to be accurate, you end up with stockouts on one side, you end up with excess inventory on the other side. Both of them really costing you at a dollar amount, whether that's inventory cost that's now tied up in slower moving inventory,
Right.
or we're missing out on that revenue piece because we're stocked out. And I think the piece that also gets overlooked is that customer sentiment and some of that soft sentiment. So if I'm providing a product to a customer and they keep coming back and, oh, we're stocked out here or there, the chances of them going to a competitor goes up. And sometimes it's harder for us to track that. And that's understandable. So if we can eliminate the stockouts, let's hope we can eliminate those changes in customer buying. So no, and Hunter, that's a great story, I think. And I think that blanket option is definitely something that is going to resonate with quite a few of the people on the webinar today. So this also brings us to our second poll question. Just kind of want to get an idea of how accurate your current forecasts are today. That could be anywhere, and don't be afraid if you don't currently forecast. That's okay. This is a great way to get started, but would love to see where people are falling in here and see how many forecasting gods have chosen you to do the forecasts.
It would make my life a lot easier if it was me, I'll tell you that.
You know, Hunter, you and I would be making a lot of money if we were the chosen ones from the forecasting gods.
Hey, at least
Awesome.
there's a few of us that have. And honestly,
There
if you
are,
have, I'm super impressed. I'm happy for you.
yeah, I'm really impressed. So I think we've got a wide range. I think for those of you guys that aren't forecasting today, I think, as you guys continue to grow, definitely leverage AI Insights. It's a great way for you to get started. but definitely some areas I feel like we could see some improvement here, just based on the accuracy rates here. So it's great to see everybody. Yeah, thanks for responding. So we'll go ahead and go through the forecasting. So I'm going to go ahead and send the request over so I can take over here. All right. Perfect. So wanted to get started off, and we wanted to really focus on the tier one functionality. And really, once we get into that tier one functionality, we're really focused in on that demand forecasting piece. So within AI Insights, we do have a demand forecast tab here at the top. And when we go to click into that, you'll notice that we do provide a base forecast for you to utilize. Now, through some feedback that we had from clients, they go, I want to see under the hood a little bit more, but then also, what if I want to make some adjustments? And so this is really where that demand forecast piece here within AI Insights is going to be good for both. So if we wanted to get a look into what the system's providing for us, if we go into that edit configuration tab. Now, I'm going to go into the analysis part here quickly. Not everybody is going to want to go in here. For most clients, a lot of time is going to be spent here in this screen. But for those of us that are maybe really interested in data, like myself, want to see kind of the nuts and bolts behind things, we can go into that analysis tab. If we want to look into, maybe different outliers, how that's laid out, all of that's within that analysis tab. Now, when we go into the forecast tab, I think this is where we really start to get into some clients that want a little bit more control of their forecasts. So what I've gotten asked multiple times, and this is what really drove this feature within the platform is, hey, I've got some stuff coming up. I want to make sure that I'm accounting for it within my forecast. So we can actually go in and adjust that forecast. So for example, I know I've worked with some clients in the past. They run a big 4th of July deal. So we can actually select that column. So we know that's in July. If we wanted to make a percentage change there, we could. We can also go on a single line level. Say, for example, we have a new distributor that's going to start carrying this product, and we want to make an adjustment there. Those all can be made, or even on a single item, single month level, we can make those adjustments. Now, once we've reviewed this, we can actually publish this, and then it will all be reflected within our demand or our product monthly forecast as well. And one of the things that I like to point out is, especially since Fishbowl, we run into a lot of manufacturers that are utilizing Fishbowl. And when we're forecasting, we're typically forecasting on a product level. Now, when we go into some of our recommendations next, we can discuss a little bit on the part requirements that are going to come along with that. But I think one of the key things, and Hunter, I know we've talked about this extensively, is the importance of getting that data refreshed and rerunning these forecasts. Because in the case that we're seeing a change in product velocity, those are going to affect decisions we make down the road, whether that's purchasing, manufacturing. All of that needs to be more real time for us than what's previously happened. Hunter, I'm not sure what you've typically heard. I know, like, a lot of times when I speak with clients that are doing like an Excel forecast, which it seems like a lot of the current group is, but I'm usually seeing either like a monthly update or sometimes quarterly. Is that kind of in line with what you're hearing?
Yeah, that is when I talk with the average Fishbowl client, those are the two increments that I hear as well. That typically speaking, you have a more robust forecast that occurs on a quarterly basis, kind of forward looking, of course. Sometimes when we do that quarterly check in, we'll try to forecast out through the end of the year. That's not terribly uncommon, but then it gets refined, obviously, for the more immediate quarter.
Mhm.
In between that, though, oftentimes there's a more immediate check in monthly, though it oftentimes, based on my client conversations, does not tend to be as robust for most organizations. And again, I think it goes back to that idea of just how much time it takes if you're going product by product, level by level.
Right. Yeah, and especially a lot of Fishbowl teams, it seems like a lot of them are wearing, multiple hats. They're in growing and scaling organizations. You know, it gets into a bandwidth. Where is my bandwidth most most valuable at this time? And so sometimes that forecasting piece gets pushed off a little bit to the side. But I think from what we've seen, with AI Insights and our experience there, is that having that up to date and having it refreshed automatically is a huge value add that's going to drive cost savings, revenue growth within the organization. So
Well, it's
yeah,
one of
I
those
think
things
that's
that's
great.
nice in my mind because, like you said, it's not just that it delivers a pre-baked forecast built on those models that are robust and comprehensive as it is, but you do still have the flexibility, as you outlined earlier, to be able to dive in and apply, adjustments product by product, line by line. Because I mean, we all know that there are things that you become aware of that aren't necessarily baked into a model. You might have that new distributor, you might open a new location, you might have a large promotion. And those are all things
Hmm.
that you could anticipate having an impact on your entire organization or level by level. And so I think that what's really nice is that this basically gives, you as the user an opportunity to have a standard, very comprehensive look at what your forward-looking needs might be, but still allowing you the flexibility to get a little more granular if you have a desire, an inclination.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a great segue. Let's kind of move on to the kind of Q&A. We want to take a few minutes here to go into some of the questions people may have around forecasting and how we're forecasting here within AI Insights.
Okay, we do got a few questions in the Q&A. I know we are working on answering some of those. Let me throw them your way. So Shabir writes, thank you. If forecasting isn't a priority, can we use the plugin to utilize data for other purposes and potentially reduce our reliance on Tableau?
Yeah, so we do have the base tier 0, so we can utilize that plugin, and really you can use that as your reporting tool. I would say that AI Insights, even at that base level, would be a full replacement of Tableau. Um,
Yeah.
so Hunter, any other thoughts there? I think that's a pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, one of my favorite features of AI Insights is just that baseline functionality that's available even in tier 0. Because effectively what that allows you to do is to join together whatever queryable data table that exists within Fishbowl and pair it up with other data. Something that would normally take, either a robust custom report being built for you or an intimate knowledge of how to operate within something like iSQL or MySQL and iReports. This really makes it so that you don't need to be a data analyst or a programmer to be able to put together your own custom reporting very quickly. I was talking with one of my clients quite literally, maybe this one was 2 weeks ago at this point, and I said, my background is in statistics. And I have worked in data analysis for a number of companies that I've been a part of. And even at tier 0, Fishbowl AI Insights can put together the kinds of data and reporting within literally 15 seconds that oftentimes took me as a very experienced data analyst hours to put together. It is very easy to operate.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Next question from Tony. What does maintenance for the AI look like? For instance, do I need to reach out to specific help desks like the department that handles FB and QB?
Yeah, so it sounds like Tony's thinking more about like support, so we have both places. One, you can reach out to Fishbowl support. If it's beyond what they can help with, then they escalate that to our ConverSight support team as well. So either way, it's handled right in there. All of the like plugin updates all are released with the Fishbowl team as well.
Great. From Adam, what kind of reporting does Fishbowl AI offer current historical data?
Yeah, so within our Explore, you have access to do, sales, inventory, anything really in there. Lots of options in there for you as far as reporting goes. If you have something specific, definitely recommend reaching out to your Fishbowl account manager, and we're happy to kind of work through that with you.
Yeah, to be honest with you, that's actually one of the most common precursors to a conversation about this that I've had with my own clients is, if somebody reaches out to us and says, "Hey, I'm trying to figure out if I can get a report that shows blank." Usually my first inclination at this point in time is to hop into AI Insights and try to build it myself and to see if I can put it together. And if I can, I take a screenshot of it, I send it over to my client and I say, "Hey, looks like we can put this together for you pretty quickly in our new reporting tool. You want to jump on a call and talk about it? And I can show you how we do it." And that has been a very easy indication for me of just how robust it can be.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay, next question is from Ben. Does AI Insights provide forecasts for Amazon and work with Amazon plugin FBA?
Yeah, so we can definitely work on a project for you there. Definitely something that we can handle. We do have a number of customers that want that like different. I'll call it like a location level forecast. So what is my Amazon forecast versus my Shopify forecast? A lot of times, all of that does feedback into Fishbowl depending on how that's set up. So definitely something that we can chat through, and depending on what level of visibility you wanted there with the forecasting, definitely we can find a fit that's going to work for you.
Great.
So I
Okay,
think from here,
go ahead, Ben.
Chad, was there another forecasting
There's a
one?
couple,
Otherwise,
couple more questions. Yeah, but if you want to run something else, go for it.
Yeah, let's see what we've got. I just want to make sure we're mindful of time to get through the tier 2.
Perfect. We'll get to these answers at the end. The questions at the end. Totally cool.
Yep. Awesome. All right. So I think let's go back to the deck. All right, Kwame, if you could help me out and get that thrown up, that would be awesome. Okay. All right, you guys can see it, I can't, so I don't know what's going on there, but I can't see it, but we can go ahead and get rocking and rolling. So a couple of the things when we think about inventory optimization, I think there's a few things that come up when I think about inventory optimization. And I think, Hunter, to your point earlier, a lot of times organizations are doing kind of a blanket forecast over all their products, which does leave some challenges for replenishment strategies. I think the other thing that we see commonly is taking a strategy of like a min max, or I have a reorder point that I'm going to reorder at. And typically when we see those types of replenishment strategies, I would say they're a more antiquated replenishment strategy compared to what we can provide with AI Insights. So a couple of the things that we see as challenges with some of those min maxes is that one, typically min maxes don't get refreshed as often as possible as they probably should be. If we think about that seasonal customer, a min-max that's set for their busy season is not going to be good for their slow season, and that requires manual intervention. And so a lot of times what we're seeing is we're seeing excess inventory in some of those strategies, but then also on the flip side, if they're trying to find kind of that happy medium between busy season and slow season, they end up with a mixture of stockouts and overstock positions. So I think having that foundation of the forecast integrated with your Fishbowl data gives us a much better strategy to having a better inventory optimization kind of strategy. So when we think about the way AI Insights is being that inventory optimization guide for you, it really starts with that forecast. From there, we're considering, what POs are already open. We want to evaluate what's on hand for inventory. If we're a manufacturer, we want to make sure we're considering that bill of materials. So we're planning to the most granular raw materials that we're using in a build, as well as counting on our vendor lead times to ultimately put out what we call our recommended PO. And when we look at recommended POs and work orders that we provide within AI Insights, it's very market adaptive. So as we're seeing changes in the demand, and Hunter, I see you shaking your head right now, just with some of the uncertainty. And I'm sure you've run into it with some of your clients as well, as these demand shifts are changing, we want to make sure that we're reflecting that in our recommendations as well. This goes back to having that forecast that's refreshing for us, that's driving those recommendations all proactively without the intervention. Huge savings in manual effort, but then I think also with that comes a number of efficiencies, taking that just-in-time kind of approach as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I've seen, even with my own conversations that I've had with clients, and I saw even a couple of things coming in during the Q&A. We do work with so many manufacturers that you start to think about the procurement process, and I don't need to tell anybody that's here how just complicated and involved that can get, because you're dealing with not just the individual products themselves, but you're talking about all of the components that feed into assemblies and sub-assemblies along the way. And those might be shared across multiple products. So aggregating the total need across your entire forecasted amounts, even if you can nail the forecasting, trying to understand what that then requires of you is such an intensive and complicated effort. It's not a surprise then that it takes, procurement and purchasing teams hours and hours, or sometimes just that is their whole job, is just trying to figure out how we can just get that balance correctly so we don't live in perpetual back orders or at the same time float excess inventory all the time. And that's what I love about a tool like this, is because it helps you get a lot more granular with that and see with such a rapidity how much more efficient we can be when it comes to our procurement and purchasing processes, accounting for how complex those different components and parts can be.
Yeah, I think the sub-assemblies and subcomponents that you mentioned, like that, it can get so complicated so quickly, and to try and work through that in a manual way is very challenging. So no, I think that's great. Hunter, I don't know if you had anybody recently that you worked on with some of the tier 2 stuff. Was kind of curious what you've kind of heard.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. You're kind of building off of it, to be honest. That's exactly the kind of process that a lot of my clients who have gone into tier 2 have really found, is that the primary things that has really simplified for them is not just obviously the supply chain processes, but even the procurement processes. I was talking with one of my clients who is currently, they have not yet move forward, but they're taking advantage of our trial period that we're launching right now to explore tier 2 for up to 45 days. And that's the primary problem that they're trying to solve right now. They said we live in perpetual back orders right now.
Hmm.
We have not been able to get ahead of them because for us, we find that we have just not really dialed in the correct level of procurement. So it feels like we're always ordering to satisfy our back orders. And it said the biggest problem that that's causing for us is the amount of lost confidence and faith that our clients are having in us. That as a result,
Yeah.
we're perpetually seeing them, reducing their order volumes or their commitments with us. We're struggling to retain our clients that we've brought on because these disruptions to the supply chain are killing us and we can't get ahead of it. And so
Yeah.
when I showed them exactly these tools, like the recommended purchase order section that we will talk about here more robustly in a moment, it was an eye opener for them. And they said, honestly, if this does for us what it looks like it can, this will solve the single largest problem in our business right now. And as of the check in that I had with him a week ago, it sounds like it is doing exactly what they hoped it would. But one of the things I think is really cool is that we are launching this trial right now where they can spend 45 days with it and just see, hey, is it really going to justify its value? Is it really going to do what we think it is?
Yeah, I think that that's a great, great, great point, with that promo that we're running. I think a lot of organizations, I want to get my hands on it. I want to feel it. I want to see how it's going to affect me. So let's make sure that we're getting them in there and trying it out. So wanted to bring up some poll results from that February webinar that we did. And we actually started talking about inventory optimization. And so we had asked, how much do they think they can, those Fishbowl users could reduce their inventory costs by optimizing inventory. And so out of the 138 people that responded to the survey, 71% stated that they could reduce their inventory costs by at least 10%. And that includes some that even said, 50% or more. So I think there's a huge opportunity there that we could help. Now, this actually brings us to our next poll question. And that poll question is, if we conservatively use the 10% reduction in inventory costs from our last poll of Fishbowl users, what could be your estimated savings by optimizing your inventory? So looking at your current inventory costs, we take that 10% of that. Where are you at? Are you in that 5 to 8 range, that 8 to 10 range, 10 to 15, or more than $15,000? So we'll give everybody a few minutes to put those votes in. And then we'll see how we're doing here. All right, so looking at the poll results, it looks like around 25% are in that 5 to 8 range, and actually 61% in that more than $15,000 range. So I think all of those are some good opportunities that we could start working with you guys. So kind of wanted to walk through what that looks like
It's
in
cool.
the Fishbowl AI Insights tab here. So we'll switch over. So when we think about how that whole process works, so as we kind of talked about in that tier 1, the forecast creates the foundation of how we're helping to recommend those purchase orders and work orders throughout the organization. So when we think about that, we're going to start with that product monthly forecast. Now, if we've made any adjustments through that demand forecast tab, those will be reflected here as well. We also want to make sure that we're considering any open POs that we have within the organization. If we also want to make sure we're checking in on what do we have as far as inventory on hand. Now, we also are going to make sure that we're considering that bill of materials. I think of we have a pump manufacturer that we work with, and they kept running out of these washers, but they use these washers across 7 different product lines. They couldn't figure out why, and it was because they weren't planning at that level of granularity, that they previously didn't have good enough visibility, or it was way too much work to get to, and so that was what was holding them up. So, and they were doing extraction pumps, so like, you know, $20,000-$50,000 pumps just sitting there waiting for a 5-cent washer. Then we also want to make sure that we're including the lead time from our vendors as well. And ultimately what that's going to pop out is our recommendations. So when we
I
look
love
at
this
our
so much.
you know, and I think of being a purchasing person and like seeing how we're operating this way versus another way. You know, a lot of times when I talk to purchasing agents, you know, they're going line by line, trying to get an idea of what's, you know, what's coming, you know, what's on hand, when, you know, trying to reach out to the vendor to figure out what lead times are. And it's a line by line, painful process. Now, what we can do with AI Insights, you know, first thing that a purchasing person could do, hop into the recommended purchase orders, see if we have any order now. So we break these down and flag these into order now and order soon. So order now means yes, put in a PO right now. Order soon, typically within the next 30 days. So we can start planning for that spend. Especially with smaller organizations, your cash flow is everything. So if we're starting to plan, maybe we can start to prioritize certain SKUs over others. But that gives you that idea. Now, when we're looking at the recommendation, I think there's 2 key things that we want to make sure that we're doing. One is making sure that we're looking at the purchase date. So when do we plan to make that purchase? And then also, I think just as important is that stock out date. If we don't take action, when are we expecting to stock out? And this is all inclusive of what we're recommending that we place that order for. Now, I think one of the things that's much different in using a strategy like this versus a minimum maximum type strategy is we're basing it solely off of demand. What are we seeing for demand, rather than let's go to the, you know, we're selling to the min, going to the max. And so this is dynamic throughout the year, especially if we're have products that are seasonal, or maybe we just have products that, you know, we get 1 or 2 big orders a year. We can start to pick those up in the forecast, and that's also going to translate into that recommendation. So I think both of those strategies, you know, in combination, the forecasting that we're providing, and then with that inventory optimization flow, that really creates the catalyst for much better, more automated, more efficient inventory replenishment strategy. Hunter, I don't
I'm
know
like,
if there was
oh, I love
anything
this
that you
tool. I'm gonna
thought.
dive into this one a little bit. This is one of my favorites. So this is the one that when I talk about it with clients, especially my manufacturers that are dealing with, again, complex manufacturing processes, this is, I think, a game changer in a lot of categories because of exactly what you just highlighted, Ben, how much time it takes and how granular sometimes you need to get, especially when you're sharing parts across different products or product lines. What I think is really robust and interesting about this is, as you kind of see here, there are so many different pieces of information that this section can provide to you. Yes, recommendations around what do you currently have on hand, how much is that PO going to cost? But as Ben were to scroll over there, you can also see things like safety days, how much demand history you typically have on that, what your last sales month was realistically for it, how much weighted average forecasting you need for that product. In other words, if you're a data nerd like I am, you have a wealth of information that you can dive into here if you really want to, just to really come to better understand your procurement process. But if you find that this is all just unnecessary, you don't need all this information, there's a summary at the top of this that just tells you the really nitty-gritty stuff that you need to know.
Yep.
And that's just, what is the part? When are you going to run out of it? What do you need to buy? When do you need to buy it? How much is it going to cost? So you can see things like, what was your vendor's delay? How many days in advance do you need to plan this? What was your last cost? Like, you can see all of that information here if you really want to. But what this separates for me is the difference between the basic like questions that you might get asked from like an approval standpoint and those that you might want to do if you're trying to get more intensive into research. In other words, you can have as much of an executive view, or if you want to get more robust with it, a very granular purchasing oriented analysis perspective. But by going through all of this, it helps save just again tremendous amount of time because this is something that quite literally you can look at daily and see a daily update, a daily refresh. It's something that then allows you to save the hours of time that it would have taken before and boils it down into a matter of minutes.
Yeah, I think one of the key things that stood out to me, Hunter, is the level at which you want to digest the information.
Yeah.
Because when I think of like different stakeholders that I talk to when we're evaluating, there's different drivers and different needs based on the level and what they're wanting to see. And I think one of the key things here is that it's the best of both worlds. If you just want to see, the top line, especially with some executives, I just want like, here's my top line. That's all I want to see. But then you maybe get into somebody that's more operations or purchasing, inventory management. They want to see the data that's going to help drive efficiencies, which we're helping them get there, and then also giving them that extra piece of information to help support why we're doing that. So I think a couple good key points there. So I know we've got about 10 minutes left here. I did want to spend the rest of the time answering any sort of questions or how to get started with Fishbowl. So if you guys have some questions, let's go ahead and get those into the Q&A. And then Kwemi, I think we'll go ahead and make sure that we got any questions up. And then let's see, any questions coming through? We seen any there,
Ben,
Chad?
a couple tier two ones. How does AI Insights handle items that aren't included in the forecast?
Yeah, so typically what we see is if, for example, we have a product that we only sell one or two per year, and we don't have enough data points to really give a good confident score or a good confident forecast. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll exclude that, and then it'll actually just run off of like a safety stock level that you guys have set up within Fishbowl. So one strategy that we typically use with those types of products.
Great. The other question is, do we need to adjust our legacy Fishbowl replenishment triggers like safety stock, reorder points, minimums and maximums?
No, so actually those you won't need to make any sort of adjustments to. So when we look at when we're getting that recommended PO out, from there you can take that, go right in and start writing POs. So no need to make adjustments to like the mins or maxes. If you did want to make some adjustments to safety stocks, we can utilize those. Again, when we start somebody with tier two, we do include some configuration hours with that. We do understand that not everybody is going to operate exactly the same, and so we do include those to make sure that we're getting things set up in the way that that organization would like to operate.
Great. One from Jason. Does the ConverSight plugin send the recommended POs and WOs back into Fishbowl, or are we still writing them ourselves?
So we do have options to write POs and manufacturer orders back into Fishbowl. It's not included as part of the tier two. It's an add-on, but happy to walk through that. That is something that we can do. Just kind of depends on where you're at and how many like POs you're writing. And we can kind of consult with you to decide when's the right time to do that automatic write back.
Great. Question from Betsy. Is a fulfillment center, will this be web-based and something that could serve as a customer portal for our customers to see their inventory and statuses of their orders in real time? If not, do you have any plans to implement this in the future, or customers that come from other fulfillment centers are used to these services? Or sorry, our customers that come from other fulfillment centers are used to these services?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we can talk through. I do have a couple of people that we've worked with where they've been more on like a 3PL side and they want to provide a login for their customer to check inventory. We do have the data governance available. So you can have them only seeing, their inventory. The other option that we could do is we could even schedule reports. So if they want to schedule a report to see what their inventory is every single week or where that's at, we could even schedule that to be sent automatically for them. So a couple different strategies that we could use there. But let's talk through it and find which is going to be best for you.
Great. And then there's a couple questions on pricing if we want to pull that up or check through that.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so couple different levels. So that kind of base level reporting that starts at $600 a year. The tier one, which is everything in tier zero, plus the forecasting that we went through today, and that's $2388 a year. And then when we go to the tier two, which is that inventory optimization, you get everything that's involved and is included in that 45-day trial period. That's $5988 a year. And Hunter, maybe you can touch on a little bit on like how those are being prorated with
Yeah.
their Fishbowl contracts.
Yeah, I mean, so basically what we do is we look at that as whatever your remaining current fishbowl term is, we will prorate this to the end of your term. If you're 6 months out from the end of your current agreement, we're not going to expect you to pay for a full year. We will just handle this as an additional line item that's tied into your renewal as a whole. Therefore, if you want to go ahead and get into, for example, tier one, you're 6 months into your existing 1 year term, then you're only going to pay about $1,200 to do so. Then at the renewal time, you would be able to look at that as that optional thing that you want to continue. And if you do, it'd be at the standard annual cost that we have listed.
Awesome. Thanks, Hunter. Yeah. And just to reiterate, now through May 31st, if you do sign up for the tier zero or tier one, you're actually going to get the full tier two capabilities. So you're going to get to try out those recommendations for free for 45 days. So I think this is an awesome opportunity, especially if you guys are on the fence of like, where are we at? Is this going to be a good fit for us? It's a great way to try that free of charge. You're really only getting started with that tier zero at a minimum. And Hunter, I feel like the common feedback that we've gotten from a lot of the
Oh,
clients
I was
we've
going to say
spoken
it
with
if you
is
didn't.
that, yeah, that tier zero, I mean, it's a no. I've heard it's considered a no-brainer as far as just getting the visibility and the reporting. Hunter, if there's anything else that you've
Oh, no,
heard,
no, no.
that's
Like,
kind of what I've been
to be
hearing.
honest, that's the direct quote from multiple of my clients. And this is what I would encourage you to do. If you're in this webinar and you've seen things that you feel resonate with you, where this might be a good fit for your organization, my team would love to hear from you. Reach out to your account manager and we can get some time set up to actually do a personal demo with you to go through and show you a little bit more about these features that we've done here today, as well as show you even the baseline functionality that we really didn't dive as much into here today. But as Ben said, I consistently hear is just a very easy decision. The reason I give for that, just to be very transparent, if you look custom at making a custom report, whether that's with our own custom reports team or an outside developer, as some of you may know, it's not uncommon that you'd be given a price for $1,200 to $1,500 to build a single custom report, because it does require a developer to build that for you and write the code for it. At the same time, this at tier zero is $600 a year and gives you the ability to make your own custom reports and as many of them as you want. And it is powerful enough to let you do that very easily. So when you look at that alone, it's something that I recommend to all of my clients. But then to be able to look at the additional power of tier one and tier two beyond that, the thing I say is that tier zero makes sense for nearly every client I've spoken to. And then if that gives you a chance to see if tier one and two make even more sense, we would love to be able to show you what that could do for your business.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that, Hunter. And as we said, it is completely live. You guys can get access to that tier 2 for 45 days free. All you're going to need to do is go ahead and get a hold of your account manager, whether that's Hunter or one of the other lovely people on his team. You can also scan that QR code to get signed up for a demo of that as well. Again, we're running that promo till May 31st. So we do have a bit of a limited time for you guys to get on and try that. So make sure you're getting in touch with your AM as quickly as you can if you want to go ahead and take advantage of that. I think with that, Hunter, unless you have anything else, I want to thank everybody for coming and spending some time with Hunter and I today, just to learn a little bit more about AI Insights and what it can do.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, thank you everybody for coming here today. Ben, appreciate you driving this for us because this is something that our clients have really seen a tremendous value from. I think, like you highlighted at the beginning, we've launched this partnership with a lot more force behind it within the last handful of months here. And we have several hundred Fishbowl clients that have currently started to take part in this. And the feedback from those that have engaged with it has, to my experience, been entirely and overwhelmingly positive. And I think that that is a testament to the power that this platform offers. So if you feel, again, that this is something that resonates with you, we'd love to talk with you a little bit more about it. Get a hold of my team, and we'd love to set up some time where we can go through it with you and with any other stakeholders in your organization.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone, and we'll catch up with everyone soon. Thanks for joining today.
Okay.